Hello everyone, welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to introduce our topic, Mega Goal 1.2, Unit 10, I Wonder What Happened. We'll be exploring language in context and engaging in some interesting conversations. Over the next few minutes, I'll give you a brief overview of what we'll cover. Let's get started. So looking at this slide, we see that they had read some books. This suggests that before the events we're about to imagine, they had spent some time reading, maybe exploring stories or learning new things. The girl had worn her mom's dress, which makes me think she might have been playing dress-up or pretending to be someone else, a fun, imaginative moment. The little boy had drawn on the wall, indicating he was being creative, but perhaps a bit messy in the process. And they had broken some plates, which could imply that they were playing or perhaps running around and accidentally knocking things over. Overall, these clues help us picture a lively scene before whatever happened next, connecting to the theme of exploring past actions and understanding how events are linked through what had happened before. So on this slide, we see some intriguing sightings. First, they must have been fireflies. This suggests that what people saw could very well have been these tiny insects flashing their lights, creating that glowing effect. It's a natural explanation for the bright lights in the bushes. But then, there's a possibility that the man they saw might have been a ghost. This introduces a more mysterious, supernatural element to the story, sparking curiosity about what people believe they experienced. Fred and Mildred, for instance, saw a bright glow coming from some bushes. As they approached, they realized it was made up of thousands of tiny lights, definitely reminiscent of fireflies. This detail emphasizes how natural phenomena can sometimes be mistaken for something more mysterious. Moving to the other part of the story, people saw a man dressed in dark pants, a white shirt, and a black tie in Erica's house. Along with that visual, Erica and her husband also heard strange noises during the night. These sounds and sightings add to the overall feeling of unease and mystery. So what's important here is how these different reports, lights in the bushes and strange figures inside the house, connect to the larger theme of unexplained phenomena. They remind us how our perceptions can vary and how stories build up around the unknown. Now, listen carefully and see if you can piece together what might have actually happened, or if these stories are just part of the mystery. So here we see that a crowd had already gathered around that weird thing over there. You might be wondering, where exactly are they? Well, they're in the park. And what had happened in the park to attract such attention? It involves two people, Samir and Greg. Now, if we look at this conversation, how many persons are involved? Just two, Samir and Greg. This simple scene highlights how quickly curiosity can draw a crowd, especially when something unusual appears. This moment connects to our overall theme about the power of perception and human curiosity. It's interesting to see how an unexpected sight can create a ripple effect, bringing people together and sparking conversations. So, keep this in mind as we move forward, how individual reactions can influence the larger group dynamic. So, here we are at the final part of our presentation, and this slide is all about crafting your ending. Now, the question I want you to think about is, which ending do you think is the most likely or the most effective for your specific situation? It's important because your conclusion can leave a lasting impression, so choosing the right ending is crucial. I encourage you to consider what message you want your audience to walk away with. Should it be inspiring, thought-provoking, or call to action? The key points here are to be intentional about your ending, make it memorable and aligned with your overall message. Remember, your conclusion is your last chance to reinforce your main ideas and connect with your audience emotionally. So, whether you decide on a compelling quote, a summary, or a future outlook, make sure it resonates and leaves a strong impression. This final touch can really tie everything together and make your presentation impactful. Let's take a moment to listen to the conversation again. As you listen, focus on identifying the expressions that are written in blue. These expressions are key because they often carry important meanings or show how people communicate in different situations. By underlining these, you'll be able to better understand how language is used in context. Remember, paying attention to these expressions helps you improve your listening skills and enriches your vocabulary. So keep your ears open for those blue phrases and think about how they contribute to the overall flow of the conversation. This exercise is all about connecting what you hear with the language patterns we've been working on. Let's take a moment to read the words on this slide and understand their meanings. As we go through each term, I want you to think about how these concepts fit into the bigger picture of our discussion. It's important to grasp these definitions clearly because they form the foundation for the ideas we'll explore next. Remember, understanding these key terms helps us communicate more effectively and ensures we're all on the same page moving forward. So, let's dive in and break down each word carefully. So imagine this scene. A crowd has gathered around what looks like a strange, unfamiliar object. It's intriguing, almost mysterious. Now, Samir's first thought is that this object might be a satellite. He's considering the possibility that it's something sent from space, maybe orbiting above us. Then we have Greg's initial reaction. At first, he thought it could be a weather balloon, something used for atmospheric data collection. But as he observes it more carefully, he changes his mind. He realizes it's more likely a communications satellite. This shift in perspective highlights how our initial assumptions can evolve as we gather more information. It's a perfect example of how important observation and critical thinking are in understanding unfamiliar objects. Throughout this presentation, we're exploring how identifying and understanding technological objects, like satellites, requires careful analysis and sometimes reevaluation of what we think we know. It reminds us that in science and technology, our interpretations can change as new evidence comes to light.